Okay, now I'm gonna do 2 and 1. I'm gonna do analyze the units and draw a diagram. I use this in chapter 11, set B, number 5, Lost in Pursuit of Peanuts. So first I'll read the problem to you. On the 5th day after the peanuts were all gone, Ed and Judy took a hike to the store to get some more peanuts. On the way back, they got lost in the middle of a big forest. The forested area they were in measured roughly 13 from the north to south and 14 miles from east to west. So I first drew that out already. So 13 miles from the north to south, or 13 miles from north to south and 14 miles east to west. When they first discovered they were lost, they were at a point that was 7 miles from the southern border and 7 miles from the eastern border of the forest. So we're going to count over 7 from the south, and that's here, and then 7 from the east, and that's here, where that dot is. So that's where they got lost. Of course, they didn't know this or they wouldn't have been lost. In their indecision as to whether they should walk east towards the morning sun, west towards the setting sun, south the direction from which they came, or north because they might be wrong about the direction from which they came, they decided to walk in all 4 directions. They devised a plan whereby they would walk north first for 30 minutes. If they weren't out of the forest yet, they would turn right and walk east for 60 minutes. Then turn right again and walk south for 90 minutes and so on, adding 30 minutes with each change of direction. Nobody said this was a good plan. It turns out they were forested in an area they covered about 1 mile every 30 minutes. So they decided to drop a peanut after every 100 yards so they would be sure they never doubled back on their tracks. They had 50 bags of peanuts with them. There were 40 peanuts in each bag. On which side of the forest, north, east, south, or west, did they finally emerge? How long did it take from the moment they were lost until the moment they got out? And how many full bags of peanuts did they have left? So we're going to use draw a diagram to find out which side of the forest they emerged from. So first, we know that they started walking north for 30 minutes, and they walk 30 minutes per mile. So we're going to start, and then they turn right and add 30 more minutes. So first what we're going to do is walk north for 30 minutes. Okay, we walked north for 30 minutes, and that's 1 block. So it can be like a 1 by 1 mile or 30 minutes. So we know they walked 30 minutes here. Okay, then they turn right and walk 30 more minutes, or 60 minutes now, so 30, 30. Okay, so they walked 60 miles, they turned right again, and now they walk 90 miles. 1, 2, 3. And so that's 90. And then they turn right again and walk 120 miles. So that's 120. They turn right again and they walk 150 miles. 2, 3, 3, 6. And then they go again and they walk 180 miles. And then they walk again and they walk 210 minutes, not miles, sorry. Then they turn right again and walk 240 minutes. 2, 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. They turn right again and they walk 270 minutes. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 27. Oh, they almost got there, but not quite yet. So that's 270 minutes. Then they turn right again and walk 300 minutes. It's 3, 6. So that's 300. Now they walk 333 minutes. That goes all the way down to here. So that's 303 minutes. And then they walk 360 minutes. And that brings them all the way down to here. And then they finally walk the rest of the way out of the forest, and it only takes 360 minutes. That means they finished at the north end of the forest. Okay, and now what we have to do is how long it took them from the moment they were lost until the moment they got out. So what I did is I counted how many miles total they walked, and so to do that you do you count each one as a mile, so this would be 1, 2, 3, so I just added, so 1 and then 2 and 3 and 4, so you just do 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12, and then you add 12 again because they only went 12 miles this way, not 13. So that you get 90 miles total. And now we're using analyze the units to find out how many minutes it took them. So from the problem, we know that it takes 30 minutes per mile, so we do 30 minutes is 1 mile times how many miles, 90 miles total, equals 270 minutes. So it took them 270 minutes total to get out of the forest from the time they got lost. And now what we have to do is we know that they had 50 bags of peanuts with them, and there's 40 peanuts per bag. And so we have to find out how many bags they had left. And they dropped a peanut every 100 yards. So what I first did was take the 50 bags and multiplied it by 40 peanuts, call that P, over 1 bag. And you get 50 times 40, which is 2,000 peanuts. And now I converted yards to miles, or how many miles were, or how many yards were in 1 mile, because we can't use yards when they used miles. So we know that there's 1,760 yards per 1 mile. Okay, and then we know that they walked 90 miles. And then that equals, we have to cross these out to get how many yards it is. And so that would be 15,000, or 158,400 peanuts. And then we have to, yards, not peanuts. Okay, and then we take this and we divide it by 100 yards because they dropped 1 peanut per 100 yards. And you get 15,800. You get 101,584 peanuts. And so you take this number and this number and subtract them to get 416 peanuts left over. And then since you know there's 40 peanuts per bag, you divide this by 40. And you get about 10 bags left. Okay, so that was how many full bags of peanuts they had left. They had a little bit more than 10 bags, but it wasn't enough to have 11 bags. So this is using draw a diagram because we drew a set of coordinates and it followed the instructions to get out. And we know that draw a diagram helps with visual aid. So someone who needs that visual assistance can use this problem or use this type of system to figure out how it works, because without draw a diagram, this problem can be confusing. And to use draw a diagram, we use a diagram to help us out finish the problem. And it helped us see which way they ended up. They ended up at the north side. So that's how we answered the question, on which side of the forest did they finally emerge? And then for the rest of the problem, we used analyze units. To analyze units, we added up all the miles and we saw how long it took them to get out of the forest, and then we analyzed units by seeing how many peanuts they had left over after dropping 1 peanut every 100 yards. So in analyzing units, we keep our units organized, which we did here. We used minutes and miles, so we use ratios to try and cancel units out, and it makes it less confusing because once you have one unit on the top and the same unit on the bottom, they cancel out and you're left with whatever unit is on the top. This example uses units when finding out how many peanuts were dropped and left over. We cancel our units and we convert our units. We converted our units here, yards to miles, or miles to yards, because we needed to know how many peanuts were dropped total. And they gave us yards. That means we had to convert to miles.